Hi, this is Deepak again, and I have a very special guest right now in my office. His name is Noah Berman.
That's me.
That's Noah Berman. And he was introduced to me by another friend of mine called Gino Yu, who's Chinese, lives in Hong Kong. He's very interested in consciousness. I've met Gino many times, and he's introduced me to some very interesting people. And so Noah right now is one of those interesting people who talks about higher mind. As you know, I've talked for decades about higher consciousness, and I want us to have this conversation together and see if you can benefit from it. So Noah, share your personal history with people. They're joining us now. We have over 300 people right there.
Yeah.
And I want you to share your personal history and then continue our conversation after that. But
yeah,
you grew up in Westchester.
I grew up in Westchester.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I have always been very sensitive and felt other people's energies and emotions and feelings, and been able to share whatever I can, whatever way to guide others. And then went through my own personal health journey, right? Where when I was 17, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disorder where I could actually barely type or get out of bed because I felt so sick. And
how old were you?
17. So I went to 5 different allopathic or traditional doctors who couldn't really help me, and was driven into my own understanding, and lost 100 pounds, the autoimmune disorder went into remission, and then went on to develop lots of different healthy products, like a company called Aloha, did protein powder, greens powder, supplement packs, organic tea line, and then other companies like Evermore in the UK and Tory Labs, and now about to launch Higher Mind, which is beverages and other products for brain health and healthy cognitive functioning for focus, alertness, awareness, clarity, and also work with people to help them better understand themselves and their own emotions and intentions, and how to feel most connected to ourselves while we're here on this journey.
So we'll have another conversation about your products
in
the future, but tell me about this capacity that you have for what people would say is beyond the usual normal construct of our capacities, what you call higher mind.
Yeah.
How did you discover them, and what are they? I think people are very interested.
Yeah, I mean, I would say like the best way to describe it is like a heightened sensitivity or a heightened awareness. So even at a young age, as young as I can remember, I could always feel what other people were feeling or what they were going through. And then knowing things without knowing how or why I know is how I'd really define it. So age 6 or 7, when I was at the library or the school computer, when the password prompt would just pop up, I would just type things and it would be right. And I wouldn't think about it. And I just thought like, oh, I'm a smart kid. I pick up on things fast.
So give me an example.
Yeah, like, I was at the library when I was 6 years old, and I typed in ABC 1, 2, 3, the first thing I guessed, and it worked. Or then in high school, I would do similar things like that with other passwords, and they would just work. And would, when I meet people...
You pick out a password, and it will work.
Or if someone would say to me, like, I'm going through a lawsuit, I'd say, who's Mark? And they'd say, that's my lawyer. And then I'd start talking about Mark and how he's feeling and how they're feeling in their relationship and how to heal the relationship. Or, if someone's having an issue with their relationship, I might say, I feel like you had some trauma at age 6 that's coming up with this now, and this is what the trauma was, and this is how it's mirroring here, and how much of this is about you and him, and how much of this is about you and your experience in the past that you're projecting, and really look at that. So I get really strong channels of information to share with other people, to really kind of empower them, I guess, is what I would say. I think it's really something we all have, but we don't all remember, is the best way to describe it.
So, how do you define higher mind?
I would say that it's a sense of, I think that life is an integrated ecosystem, right? And that even though there's not an immediate or direct conduit to seeing that when you give to others or give to the world that it comes back to you, it actually really does. It's impossible not to. So I would say living from a higher mind is knowing that there is a sense of, as I give, I do receive. And that it's not an immediate awareness of, I gave a tip and now, my tax will come on time. It doesn't actually, the bank account invests over time. It's not immediate, right? But that sense that when you come from an authentic place, things tend to work out.
So you said life is an integrated ecosystem.
Yeah. We're all here to care for each other. Just like as a forest has trees and has mycology and fungi to help the trees protect them, like, we are all here to care for each other.
Yeah, you came in through this space and all the calligraphy outside is Thich Nhat Hanh.
Yeah.
Who's a Buddhist monk who uses the phrase or expression inter-being. We are inter-beings that inter-arise in the inter-isness. And the inter-isness is what you're calling the integrated ecosystem of life.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not separate. Yeah. That I think that it's an age-old teaching that we're one energy, we're one being, expressing in different forms, but I don't have a fear of redundancy in saying that, because it's a song that needs to be sung many times for us to remember. Even the best of us.
So our minds are conditioned, so we have innumerable conditioned minds, but they all have a source in a non-local integrated consciousness.
Yeah.
And there's only one of that, right?
Right. There's one mind.
One mind in the deeper reality.
Yeah.
It's one
in
immaterial.
The deepest core of it.
Yeah, deepest core. So I don't mind being exposed to the world right now. When you came in a little while ago, I asked you what's happening in my life, and you mentioned somebody. We'll skip that. But you mentioned that I'm in a phase transition of sorts.
Yeah.
I don't mind sharing that with people. So what do you mean?
I think that, like, as you illuminate others, you give more to yourself, right? And you've spent your entire life doing this work and will continue to, but you have such a body of people around you that inspire you, and I think that part of your work is to, especially in this new year, find a way to elevate that consciousness and reach multiple generations. And I think you've already taken a lot of steps to do that, and that you're determining with what you've learned, partially through trial and error and also research, what works and what doesn't to really accelerate the growth of the planet and that choice.
So what advice would you give me right now for this coming year?
I think number one is to trust. And I think that there are certain people around you that really make you feel really good when they're around you. And those are the people that you need to trust the most, that they're the right voices for other people to hear. And whether or not they have the execution to do it themselves doesn't really matter. If they have the voice, that voice is the one that's closest to the truth. And that's what you're moving toward.
So I do recognize I'm moving toward that, and you feel it's the right thing to do at my stage in life anyway, right? I
think it's what else is there to do? You're not going anywhere, right? But it's like there's always more room.
What do you hope for your future, for Higher Mind and for your business?
I just trust it. I'm not in a place of hope. I hope that I can impact as many people as possible with it, and I trust that I will. And I hope that I can experience the process more than the result.
You think other people, there are a lot of people right now, they say they prefer the word higher mind than the word psychic, which I also like the word higher mind. Do you think there are others out there who have this capacity? Do you think everybody has this capacity? And what does it take to have this capacity to tap into the higher mind?
For me, it's really just two things. One is presence, and the other is intentionality. So presence for me is not being in the past or not being in the future, and not really having any thoughts other than just kind of feeling energy and being here. So I'll feel like warmth and energy in my body, and then it's almost like information appears or shows up that appears like they're my thoughts, but they're not. It's just a stream of consciousness. And intentionality just means that I'm using this in a way that has impact. So if I'm present but I don't have a reason to help others, that information is not going to show up for me. If I have the intention to do so, then it appears. So those are really the only two things. And the term psychic, I don't mind it. It doesn't matter. You can call it a banana. You can call it empathy. It's all the same thing, right? It's different language, but
you say we all have this capacity for
yeah.
insight, intuition, creativity, imagination, introspection, tapping into a domain of awareness which is beyond our personal history, basically.
Right.
Right?
It's not about us.
It's not about us.
Yeah, so the second we recognize it's not about us, and that we're bigger than us, then we are everything, and we know everything, and we, not everything, but there's some universal consciousness that we're part of, and we can share what we perceive and not be afraid of being judged or ridiculed or reprimanded for sharing our truth. And I also find that an attachment to being right or wrong blocks intuition, because there's no such thing. It's just what you're feeling or perceiving. And no one's always right. It's not about being right. The closest thing to being right is sharing your heart. And that's always right because you're coming from a high place. It's not necessarily like you always know everything on point, because that's not why we're here. We're not the ultimate creator. We're people doing the best we can to help each other.
So there you have it. Next time I have Noah here, hopefully, we'll have a website that he has and that we can refer you to him. But I think there's enough insight here today to see that this is a path worth pursuing for all of us, to be tapping into a higher mind, a higher consciousness. And as Noah said, all it takes is being present, and all it takes is intentionality. I'm glad Noah visited me here this morning, because he kind of reinforced what I'm going through myself, this transition in my life where we can collectively tap into a higher mind for ultimately a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, joyful world. So thanks, Noah, for joining me. And when you're a little bit further along with your products and your services and your website, maybe we can create something for you on one of my channels, on Jayo, for example.
Yeah.
I'd love. Do you think it's possible for you to do a one-on-one consultation on Skype with someone?
Yeah, all the time I do that.
You do that?
Yeah.
So maybe we can help you do that with some of the people that come to our social network site, which is called Jayo. Are you familiar with it?
Yeah.
Jayo
Life, right?
Yeah, Jayo for Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jayo Life. So maybe we can create something for you there where you can offer consultations, and we call it the Higher Mind.
Higher Mind.
Yeah?
Yeah.
With Noah Berman.
Yeah.
If you guys like that, we'll do it, okay? Higher Mind with Noah Berman. Okay, thanks for joining us, and until next time, this is Deepak. Say bye.
Bye. Nice to meet you guys.
Great.